Hello everyone and welcome back to the Driven by Us podcast, driving change in media and STEM in the motorsport industry. Today I am joined by a very, very, very special lady. She is an absolute powerhouse. She is a motorsport presenter, media trainer, racing driver in training, and someone who I've not only had the privilege of working with previously, but someone who I call my friend, the lovely Amber Jones.
Nina, that is the cutest introduction ever. I absolutely love that.
You liked it?
Oh my gosh, I sat there like, yes, it was the friend bit. That was the best thing for me.
I mean
Forget what I do.
When I say lovely, Amber is truly one of the loveliest people I've met and worked with. She's a total chatterbox. She'll have a two-way conversation with a wall. Two-way conversation with a wall.
Full on. Like, we've got airport stories where you would have to grab me and be like, Amber, we really have to go. And I'm there going, yes, we're going to Abu Dhabi and we're doing this to the people at the airport. Passport control.
Amber's telling people her life story and I've mentally checked out. But anyway, you are a lovable chatterbox because she truly is so lovely. And I'm delighted to have her on the pod today. How are you?
Thank you, Nina. I'm good. It's actually very hot today, so we are a little bit hot. But no, I'm really, really good, and I'm so happy that it's you that I'm chatting to. I was like, oh my gosh, Nina. You know, in this industry, you meet a lot of people, and you get on with some people, and you don't get on with others. And I think that's the nature of the industry. When we met, I was like, right, that's my sister. That is my sister. Like, away from work, we can just chat about whatever, do whatever. So I'm so grateful that you're interviewing me today.
I'm interviewing you. How fun is this?
I know. I love it.
Rarely we get to interview our friends.
Exactly.
Right, Miss Jones.
Yes.
Your career spans various different roles. You have a pit lane reporting, hosting, event hosting, content creation, racing driver in training, with a real focus on empowering women in motorsport. I want to take you back to your roots. I want to find out what inspired little Amber to pursue a career in motorsport and presenting.
Little Amber wants to be a racing driver. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of people don't know that about me. And when they see me now getting involved in racing, they're like, where's that come from? Is it just because you work in the sport? Little Amber, about 6 or 7 years old, don't know the exact age. It was a friend's birthday party and we went to like a go-kart track and they had quad biking and off-road racing and all these different outdoor activities. We did the go-karting, fell in love with it. And it was me and my 2 other friends. And I was like, I want to be a racing driver. This is it now. My dad just laughed. He's like, 1, we're not rich. 2, no chance. And I think then, again, it was just seen as, you know, a male sport. So I don't think it would ever cross my dad's mind, you know, if I wanted to do it and we did have the funding, but we just didn't have it. So he's like, what's the point? And then I wanted to be an actor. Ran with that dream. I was, you know, on stage. I was doing lots of theatre performances and screen acting. And then my dad actually said to me again, he's very influential in my life. He was like, I don't think you should just be an actor. Like, you can be an actor, but I don't want you to go to drama school, come out of drama school, work in a pub for the rest of your life, waiting for that big break. He's like, be an actor, but also be something else. I thought, you know what? Spot on idea from Mike Jones. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike Jones.
Do you know what I mean? We were sat watching Formula One and he said, why don't you look into sports presenting? Because I did some work experience with the BBC as a journalist.
And how old were you at this point?
Oh, this was 17. Okay. Like when you're picking, you know, to go to university or something. He's like, do sports presenting. I knew I wanted to be in the performing arts media industry. And I just thought, actually, yeah, that's another fantastic idea from my dad. He's like, you could be the next Natalie Pinkham. I thought, you know what? You're onto something here. I've got the racing knowledge. I love racing. So why not just combine the two and with presenting? Looked at universities, went to University of Salford. And then, it just sort of, it flourished from there then. The acting dream left.
Oh, I was like, would you ever bring it back?
Who is she? No, I've lost that part of myself.
Oh, no.
But then again, I think presenting is also quite similar to acting.
You're performing.
Exactly. So if you have a script and it's a piece to camera, you are obviously acting in a certain type of way. But me on stage right now, like crying on stage or something, no, can't see it.
Yeah,
no chance.
I think you really suit presenting just because you can talk for England.
Exactly. Don't give me a script. Just let me chat.
Amber does not need a script.
No.
She will just chat.
Exactly.
And it will all make sense.
It will.
Yeah.
I might take you around like the whole garden path, but we will get to the end of it eventually.
Okay, so when you made the decision that, you want to go into broadcasting, presenting, how did you go about it? What was the route?
It was quite seamless for me, to be honest. So at university, they had a university racing team that a lot of universities have, and I joined that. And then I was just the media team. The second year became the head of media, and I would produce the videos. The media team was like 3 people. There wasn't a lot of people.
Okay.
And then I would produce the videos, direct the videos, film the videos myself. I made all this content and then present the videos, put them on LinkedIn. And then my friend said to me, Aston Martin need a presenter on Friday. Are you free? I was like,
how did your friend have a contact?
He works at Aston Martin. Aston Martin engineer.
Okay.
Carlos, we love you.
We love you, Carlos.
So, yeah, he was like, oh, obviously I've seen your presenting videos. We know you can present. Are you free on Friday? This is like a Wednesday or something. I only had 2 days to prepare. I'm in second year of university. I'm thinking, yes, I'm free, but no, I can't do this. I've never had any real presenting experience. It's Formula One.
It's Aston Martin.
Aston Martin. I thought, no. I ran round university. I spoke to every single lecturer, and I'd only, I think, done about 1 month of presenting at this point.
Because what were you studying?
Media and performance.
Okay.
So that's like videography, editing, stage, screen acting, like everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I only did about 1 month of actual presenting lessons. I was like, I'm not prepared. I was like texting everyone I know. What do I do? Ringing my dad. Went to the technicians that worked at university because they would help me with the cameras. And I was like, what do I do? And they were like, Amber, just say yes. I was like, well, I'm saying yes, obviously. But like, can you help me? Like, what am I going to do? And they're like, you're so fine. I went there. Once I arrived at the Aston Martin HQ, that was it. All the nerves just left. Like, everything was like, I'm meant to be here. This is meant to be for me. It went fantastically. And then my career just progressed from there.
How did you feel after the fact when it went well? Did you feel like, I can do this?
I was like, this is my life now.
Right.
It can't go downhill from here. It has to go up. But that was my fear of, if I've started with Aston Martin, is the next job not going to seem, as exciting? Am I going to be seen to taking a step back? But no, it carried on. It carried on. I kept working with all these amazing brands. And I was like, yeah, this is it for me. I'm happy. I want to do this. But I've done so many different mediums of presenting. So it wasn't like I had to stick to, because that was event hosting with Aston Martin. I was like, I didn't need to stick to that. And then I did the GT Cup pit lane reporting job, completely different. But yeah, it's where I'm meant to be in motorsport.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So this all happened whilst you were at university.
Yes.
So would you say that going to university is vital for a career in media and motorsport?
No, definitely not. I've got so many friends that, never went to university. So I'd say it's not crucial. But for me, the reasons were I wanted the university lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to move to a different city. And that was another reason why I was like, I'm in an about drama school. Because I wanted to meet new people and live away from my parents. And I love them to the end of the earth. But be independent.
Yeah, of course.
I want to get a takeaway whenever I want a takeaway. And I wanted just to live and explore as like a young girl in her 20s. So that was the biggest pull for me. But did I actually learn a lot from the course? Not really. I think with university, you can go and you can be the stereotypical student. You can party, you can drink, you can not go to any of your lessons. And I didn't do that. I did the opposite of that. Like, I did obviously party and drink and all of that.
You had a good time.
You have to.
Yeah.
But I would take out the cameras. So because it was a media and performance course, you would have like a lesson on cameras, 20 minutes. Are you going to learn about cameras in 20 minutes?
No.
If you never pick up that camera again, you have no idea about that camera. So I would book out the cameras and I would hire the technicians and say, sit down, teach me this. What's that? What's the FPS and shutter speed and whatever, all this technical knowledge that I knew I needed to have to film my own content. So because of that, it helped me. But if you went to university and only did the lessons, I don't really think you'd take a lot from it.
Okay.
So it was crucial for me because I put so much effort in, but I don't think you need to do it. I just think it buys you time. I had 3 years to get my show reel, to make contacts. When I come out of university, I'm sorted. Whereas I think if you don't go to university, you might have that pressure of, I'm working a full-time job and I want to be a presenter. I need to sacrifice parts and then I can't make it to these events. So it buys you time, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. I actually agree. Speaking from someone who didn't go to university, I think it doesn't hurt to go to university because there's so many resources and you can learn so much in that 3 years if you utilise the resources
Yeah.
to your benefit. It's not the be all end all,
Yeah.
but it definitely doesn't hurt at all.
Exactly. You know, you literally get access to all these cameras.
Yeah.
For 3 years,
Yeah.
I've got these beautiful Blackmagics and the Reds and the Sonys. Do you think I could afford that?
No,
If I was a 19-year-old girl living at home, no chance.
So I mentioned, of course, the lovely Amber Jones has the gift of the gab.
Of course.
Which is definitely required for this type of career, you know, being chatty and personal. But what other skills do you think are important if someone was to go down the career of being a sports presenter, broadcaster?
I think, to be honest, there are so many. And I remember when I first came into the industry, I was like, you have to be really social and really extroverted. I don't think that's the case at all. I think you need to be confident, super, super confident. If you're not going to come across well on camera. And that's the thing. If I'm having a bad day and I watch myself back, I'm like, ooh,
It shows.
you can see.
Well, probably not. You
nervous.
can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
We are self-critical.
Yes. And maybe people aren't picking up on it as much as you are, but little things will come across if you are nervous. It's your eye contact, it's your body language, it's, you know, is your voice shaking, things like that. So confidence, 100%. If you struggle with that, I'm like, work on that before you put yourself in these positions. Handling yourself under pressure and stress, because you'll know when you get like thrown in a pit lane reporting job, they're like, Nina, you're going live in 3 minutes. Sorry, I thought we were going live in 3 hours. So have you prepared in those 3 hours?
Yeah.
You know, do you know what you're going to talk about? You need to have the gift of the gab. You need to be able to handle the stress, but then talk about absolute nonsense. You need to make nonsense sound intellectual. So I remember we had a few incidents where they'd be like, yeah, the race isn't for 2 hours, whatever. Amber would be bringing the race forward, like 2 hours, you're going live now. Your co-presenter isn't there because he's commentating on a different race. You're on your own. And I'm there like, this is my first pit lane reporting job. Oh my gosh, stress. What am I going to talk about? I would also say you need to be really prepared. So in those situations, I would have already been in every single garage and spoke to every single team and driver, and my notebook was full. So by the time they go, you need to go on camera now, I'm already prepared.
Yeah.
So I just think confidence, be prepared, handle stress, and I think you'll be fine. And have the gift for the gab. If you don't have it, go out and practice. Go and talk to people on the street.
Exactly. And I think having fun as well.
Yes.
Like, it is highly stressful and highly pressurizing, but if you're not enjoying it, then maybe it's just not for you. Because sometimes the pressure can actually be too much.
That's so true, you know, because there were times when I wasn't having fun with it. And I was like, is this like career for me? Is this industry for me? Because why am I not enjoying it? But I always found it was when I wasn't in a good headspace. So it wasn't the job. It was more something's happened in your personal life and you've got a really big race weekend coming up and I'm not coming across well on camera and finding things a bit more stressful than usual. And I was like, do I not enjoy it? You just need to have all your ducks in a row.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think, for this industry.
Do you have any memorable behind the scenes moments? Funny, stressful, anything that stands out for you in your career so far?
That's a difficult one. It's really difficult because there's been so many amazing moments, and because I work across so many different mediums of presenting, every like moment offers something different. I think the pit lane reporting job, and I always go back to that one, just gave me every single experience in the world, because it is the stress and it is the pressure and it is the live TV and someone's talking in your ear, and it's different to just sitting down in front of a camera and just chatting. So I always think the GT Cup Championship was just hilarious. It was the best job ever. And there was a moment where we had, you know, a really great driver called Jesse Crone. And they were like, Amber, you know, he's here. He's just a wild card entry. His points don't matter in the championship. Go and interview him. We had a fantastic interview. And he was from Finland. Eurovision was on at the time. And Finland lost. They came second.
Oh, no.
And I was fuming. Absolutely fuming. If you remember Cha Cha Cha, people listening to this, I was fuming. So I just started talking about Eurovision to this driver, and they were all like laughing in my ear, like, Amber, you're mental. Like, I asked him obviously about the racing.
Yeah, of course.
As well.
Of course.
We are here for the serious sport.
Yes.
But then, we started talking about Eurovision and laughing, and he was so lovely and friendly, and I still talk to him to this day.
Aww. But that's
Fantastic
our job
driver.
sometimes, to humanise the drivers. You know,
Yeah.
they are drivers, but they are people away from the car.
Yeah.
And that's what our job is sometimes.
Exactly. You have to be fun with it sometimes. I felt like I kind of was too serious at times, and I lost that fun part of myself, because I'm like, it's motorsport, it's serious, talk about the technicality and all of this. But at the end of the day, you need to have fun as well. If you're not having fun, I think it does affect you in the end.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what Amber also does, which is very impressive, is you are a media trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love, by the way. I find it fascinating. So for our listeners who don't actually know what that is, can you explain a bit about what media training is and what you do? What is that role?
I love talking about media training because people love to slam media training.
Okay.
They're like, we hate when our drivers are too PR trained and you turn them into robots. I get that. And obviously, maybe that person who's media trained these certain people have done it really harshly and really strictly, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. George Russell gets a lot of stick for being too media trained.
He is quite put together.
I think it's his personality.
I actually think it's a combination. Yeah.
Exactly. And so with media training, basically, my media training, I don't want to get rid of the driver's personality. I'm actually bringing that out more. Media training is just damage control. It's just, don't say this, please don't say this. And if you don't have confidence, we're finding that confidence. It's okay. What makes you nervous when you're in front of a camera, when you're talking to journalists? It's all about, don't let a journalist make their own narrative about you. Don't let them take something you've said and create a story from that, because it's an adrenaline-fueled sport. You come out with a race car, there's a microphone in your face, you're fuming. You're going to say something about, a different driver or something within yourself that makes you look bad. It's just stop, think, don't say that. Just try and say something where you're kind of answering the question, but you're steering it round a complete different narrative than the journalist wants to get out of you. If Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen have a bump and they're like, oh, what's happened with Lewis? And the question will be very Lewis heavy to enable Max to talk about Lewis. So with media training, I'm like, don't talk about Lewis, focus on yourself. Forget they're even asking you about Lewis Hamilton, talk about your performance, what's happened, what can you do better, what were the best parts of those moments. It's just tricking the brain not to fall into a narrative, basically. I love it. I love doing media training because you see the drivers go from being quite shy, obviously the shy ones, the introverted ones, to then just being so confident and they know how to talk to the camera. That's the best part of the job, like watching their confidence grow. Then with the confident ones, it is just like, please don't say that. And please don't do that.
That's me.
It's just like, come on, don't. I'm like, Nina, please.
Sorry.
But then you don't want them to lose their personality.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just it is a fine line of, please be yourself, but please just don't say anything that is going to make you look bad. And if you've got a sponsor and they don't want you to talk about X, Y, and Z, don't talk about that, please. But be yourself, find your personality. And then we also work on the social media. So I think the most important thing as well is a lot of drivers don't want to do social media. They're like, why? Like, why do I have to? You need it for your sponsorships. So I always say, put out your personality. Don't make it all driving, because actually it's not that interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what do you get up to on the weekend? What do you do? Do you like helmet designs? Push that out, Do you go rowing or whatever it is? Push out those parts of you and then build a brand within your hobbies, basically. So I could talk about media training all day. There's so many different angles within media training.
What are some common mistakes that you see drivers or teams make in the media?
Oh, it's a difficult one because if there is a bit of a narrative between two drivers, let's say, of course they need to talk about it. Yeah. They need to chat about what's happened and what's gone on. And I think a lot of drivers get confused because they see Max Verstappen on air saying whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. And they're like, why can't I do that? I'm like, no. When you get to Formula One and maybe if that's your character and that's your vibe, then maybe you can be like a Max Verstappen and say whatever you want. But please don't. So I don't think there's not been that many that come to the top of my head really about drivers saying too much wrong,
right,
to be honest. I mean, I guess it would be more in like lower categories of racing, I guess. But then again, you're not remembering those moments too much. So yeah, it's a difficult one really. I don't think I've ever experienced a driver say something too bad. It's more in the sessions.
Right.
Because there's no one there. It's just me and maybe a group of drivers. I'll ask them really difficult questions and they will give me a silly answer. I'm like, you cannot say that on air.
Are they being serious? Like, that's genuinely what they would say?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then it's like you don't want to take away their personality.
No, of course.
So it's like, I love that you'd say that, but I don't think your sponsors and your team are going to take that very well. But yeah, I can't really think of anything that's happened, anything that comes to the forefront of my mind. I just show I think there was an example that I would show, and it was Laura Winter talking to Lando Norris, and her narrative was very much like Lando was in the wrong for something, and he got out of that question so perfectly. And that's what the video I show to a lot of the girls that I work with as well, of, look, this was her narrative. She's a journalist, of course. She's going to spin a narrative. She has a story to tell. Don't let them. Don't let them take control of that narrative again.
I love that, though. I mean, would you say that every Formula One driver is media trained? Is it like a necessity for like PR companies?
I would say so. I think most of them will be media trained, just because obviously they're behind these huge brands. So I think they definitely would have to be. But you're seeing it more and more now. They're starting a lot younger, which again is quite difficult because you just don't want to take too much away from them when they're young and they've got loads of energy and, oh my God, I love your energy, keep that. Yeah. But then at the same time, you know, you do need to shape them. So I work with a lot of young drivers, but definitely Formula One drivers will need to keep up with the media training, just in case. It depends what's in their contract and things.
That's true.
What can they say? What can't they say? What can they do?
Yeah, they're kept on a tight leash, aren't they?
Exactly.
A lot of them are anyway.
Well, then it's difficult because Max Verstappen says whatever he likes.
Yeah, but I think when you get to Max and Lewis's level, they are on a leash, but it's a little bit looser because, you know, they have a bit more power.
Well, Lewis is very, very media trained.
Yes.
But then, I think it's personality.
Yes. But you can always tell when Lewis says something that's not quite sticking to the script.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But he does show, I think, not negative, what's the word I'm looking for, you know, more of those lower moments. He's not like shying
emotions.
away.
Yeah, he shows that he is human and he's you know, not happy in this moment or he's happy in this moment.
But he still says it in a really nice way that doesn't get him in trouble.
A really nice PR way. I just think the fact that, you know, you do media training, it's another string to your bow and it's incredibly impressive, another skill to your repertoire, my darling.
Thank you so much.
It's a great skill to have. From knowing you, something...
Oh gosh.
You ready? No, something you're also really good at is networking. Now, that age-old saying that your network is your net worth, being able to leverage your network, especially when you're starting out, is so important, especially in broadcasting. And there are so many different ways or platforms you can use to network. What are some of the ways you use and what has worked well for you, whether that's a platform you've used or in person? What kind of works for you?
It's different for everyone. And again, I teach this in media. Everything just links back to media training. We link this back only because it's personality. Again, it's all about your personality. If you're not extroverted and someone says the best way to network is to go into a room and just speak to people, what are you going to do? You are shaking. You're like sweating. You can't do that. So I always try to give lots of different examples. If you're quite shy, emailing, LinkedIn, I mean, you do get a lot of shy presenters. So if you wanted to be a presenter, but you are quite shy, creating content and then sending that content to certain people and you've got something to show then. If you're extroverted, get to your events. Get to events, get to races, go to your local racetracks, go down, talk to the engineers. You just need to speak to people because I think a lot of my jobs came from just chatting. And it was never, I'm not a pushy person. You know exactly what I'm like. I'm like, oh, sorry, oh, can I, oh, just... And you tell me, like, Amber, you just need to be a bit more pushy. But for me, I've never had to be pushy in this industry. And at times you do need to be, and I'm sure it does benefit people to go into a room and find the producer and find the director. I've just always taken the natural approach of I'm just going to talk to them like a normal human being. We're going to laugh about something. I'll tell them a story. I'm not going in there to go, I really want a job with so-and-so and please can you get me a job? And that does work. Yeah. It does work. I'm not saying don't do that because you might miss some opportunities. But for me, it's just go into a room, just chat to people. And then, a lot of the jobs were like, oh, we saw she did this, so you can do this. Oh, we spoke to Amber one time. She can do this. And it just kept passing on. So my network was my biggest asset for me for getting jobs. You know, I've not had an agent. Everything was just through myself, through networking. But you need to be on it. You can't relax for 1 minute. There's so many people in this industry. It's so competitive. Don't take like a month off. You go, oh no, it's chill. I'll wait for something to come to me. You've lost it. You've lost it. Keep going. Keep doing something. LinkedIn was the best asset, but now it's very oversaturated. It's hard now. Like LinkedIn back in the day was a business platform and there weren't a lot of young people. My dad was like, get on LinkedIn. I thought, sorry, what? I'm not a businessman in a suit. Sorry, Mike. What's this about? the best thing. Like my dad, I really owe a lot to my dad and to my mum, but my dad's been more vocal. Yeah, because LinkedIn was my biggest tool. I would just take videos of myself, you know, at a track or with the team, interview my racing team at university, post it on LinkedIn, share it to your network, and then I got loads of jobs from that. So it's being proactive, I would say.
I think for those who don't know, a lot of presenters, broadcasters, they are represented, they have an agent. The fact that you have created this career for yourself, mostly unrepresented, and you've used and leveraged your network, it speaks volumes for who you are as a person as well.
Oh, thank you, Nina. It's stressful.
But that's
it's
my whole point. I mean,
times.
you really can't, you know, push to the side, just, you know, having a chat with someone. And I've seen you do it. I've literally seen her work the room. But she's not working the room.
Chatting.
She's just chatting.
Like in Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
when we worked on the Ferrari Esports finals, I'm just there, nattering away, just chatting. But, you know, you were the same. You were chatting to everyone, and we built a really lovely relationship with a lot of the staff there and a lot of the people. And then we would get opportunities from that, and people would be like, why are you two? And it's like, we've actually just been chatting.
And that's the thing, like, don't see it as networking. Just see it as people are human and people like a chat. And
being friendly.
Yeah, and, you know, you might get something out of it like we did, and it works in our favour.
Exactly. Like I messaged you on Instagram. I'd only met you, once before at the women's esports finals. Knew we were doing the same job because we were speaking about it. Messaged you on Instagram, like, you at the airport?
Yeah, and I was like, come meet me in the lounge.
And I'm like, right, sounds, let's do it. And then look at us now.
I know.
You don't know the power of just dropping a message or just speaking to someone.
Yeah.
And if people don't reply, because I think that's what people don't like, I think you just kind of leave them to it. You maybe follow up again in a few months, but for the most part, they're probably busy and they probably don't have the time to help you.
Yeah, I think a lot of what people have is the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And they don't want to put themselves out there and do that because of the fear of rejection. But I think once you get over that, like, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
A no is a no, okay.
Exactly.
On to the next.
Even Alex Brundle said that. He's like, I did a podcast with him recently, and he was like, I know you don't want to be seen as that person that's harassing people in the industry, but he's like, sometimes you kind of just like have to go for it and just send them that message, and if they don't reply, they don't reply, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly. I think speaking of like LinkedIn and digital platforms, the world is constantly shifting, constantly moving with the times, to the point where I can't even keep up with what the new social media app is. You've been doing this for a number of years now. How have you seen the role of media change over the years? Like, for example, is social media more prominent now? How have you seen that media sort of world change?
It's changed massively. I think even you can start off with Drive to Survive, you know, on Netflix, from the more like digital forms of, you know, media from a watching stance. And then you go to social media. And you're like, wow. After COVID, it just went wild because we were sat in our homes. All we had was TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and whatever. So it just dominated the space, I think, after COVID. And I've just never really been a huge social media person. I'm very much, I want to chat to you face to face and I want to go home. I don't want to sit on the phone for you for hours. I don't want to FaceTime you for hours. I don't want to sit behind my phone for hours. Obviously, I'm a chatterbox, so I will do that and I will chat to lots of people, but I'd rather be face to face. So I always found it quite difficult that the landscape was changing to be content heavy because I just wanted to be out there. I didn't want to film absolutely everything and then be stuck to my phone after an event editing. That's the way, you know, things have gone now, and I see a lot of pros and cons with content. The pros are we've got a massive female audience now that we didn't have, and there's so many more opportunities for females, whether you want to be a presenter, engineer, you know, whatever it is, work in marketing, social media. So it's opened up a lot of doors, but it's equally made it very competitive.
It's very saturated now, isn't it?
Yes. And, you know, it's great. And it's great to have more people in the sport. And that's exactly what we want. And that's what I advocate for more females, more doors to be open. But I think there's a pressure on us presenters now. If you're not doing content, are you still going to be getting your jobs?
Yeah, are you going to get left behind?
Exactly.
That was actually my next question. I mean, you said you're not good at Instagram. Your Instagram is great. I actually found Amber on Instagram. I came across her on Instagram 2 years ago. What a stalker. But what do these roles now play in our line of work in terms of TikTok, Instagram, whatever else there is?
It's difficult. It's really difficult. And even the social media platforms are changing because I think the entry point into the sport as a presenter, you know, if you didn't come from university, degrees, whatever, was YouTube. But then now we saw YouTube change, that people don't want long form content. And of course, long form content still does well. But we were seeing it shift because of TikTok, because of Instagram Reels. It's coming to 1 minute videos. TikTok, although it's a great platform, swipe. Our attention span is going down the drain.
So we're seeking like instant gratification. If it doesn't grip us in 1 second, we're on to the next.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't think that's fantastic. But like I say, you know, social media has done a lot of wonders, especially for F1 and for motorsport as a whole. But yeah, as presenters, you have to now keep up with the game. We're seeing content creators get presenting opportunities. So it's merging together now. You are sort of getting left behind if you're not a content creator. Unless you have a fantastic agency, and then it doesn't matter because your agency are pushing you. But now we're seeing, you know, TikTokers and influencers be their own boss. They will have agents, but ultimately their content, and they're their self-director, self-producer, their content is getting the work. So you have to stay in the game. And we've had many chats.
We've had many chats about this, because it doesn't necessarily come natural for myself and Amber. I mean, we don't mind it. It's more of like a constant thing that we struggle with, like a regular, everyday content.
Exactly.
And I think that's the difference between a broadcaster and presenter and a content creator. And I think it's important for us not to forget, we're not content creators. Yeah. It's just a part of the job description, if you will. But there are, for example, motorsport content creators out there who are solely that, and they are great.
Fantastic.
But
I'm like, how do you do it?
We shouldn't compare ourselves to them, because that's not us.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I think that's a difficulty now, because they are we're all merging together as one. And I think it was, there was an influencer actually that put a really fantastic post, and I shared it on my Instagram, because she was saying, just because she's a great influencer doesn't mean she's going to be a great commentator. Just because she's a good presenter on her phone doesn't mean she's going to be a good broadcaster. And that's the thing, it's merging a little bit too much. But then again, if someone's great for the role, they're great for the role. Exactly. You know, if you are an influencer turned broadcaster, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, not
That's
at all.
Fantastic. But it's merging a lot now, and there is that pressure, I think, on us to film every single job. And then to go home, you've just done a whole weekend. You're tired, you're up early. And then to go home.
And now I'm doing a voiceover. And editing, music.
Like 20 minutes, half an hour, plus the voiceover, plus now you're adding all these graphics and things. It's difficult. It's a difficult one to grasp, but I think you have to find your niche. So for my niche, it's literally just what I get up to at work. Now I'm venturing more into the racing side of things and owning my own car and the mechanical side of things. That's my content. You're not seeing me doing TikTok dances.
Oh no, that's where I draw the line.
No, sorry. It's fantastic.
Unless I was to get like a big driver involved or something that will go viral, but I'm just not doing it like on my own.
I'd still be there like really stiff in the corner.
I'd be like, I'm so sorry I'm making you do this. I'd be so apologetic. I'd be like, you can leave any time.
And the thing is, the TikTokers are actually really inspirational, because I'm like, wow,
it's
the graft.
It's a full-time job. They are constantly thinking about their next piece of content. Honestly, people really underestimate the amount of work that goes into it.
People think it's just, silly internet stuff. It's really not. It's a full-time job. It's lots of graft, and people, you have to be talented at it. It's a whole different skill. So I applaud them. I'm like, wow, go you. Come and do my social media for me.
Please.
I'll pay you.
When I get to that point, I will pay you. We'll have a conversation. You actually just touched on it, that you own a car, a racing car. I'd like to talk to you about your experience with driving and racing. Myself and Amber, you've mentioned it, but we were out in Abu Dhabi at the end of last year.
Take me back.
I know. For the Ferrari Esports Grand Finale. And it was the same weekend as the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. You're probably thinking, where am I going with this? But whilst we were out there at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we were having a little chat with Maya Verg, who drives for MP Motorsport for F1 Academy. And it was then when I noticed your knowledge. So Amber, with all your racing and karting and all the things you do, you were able to have a really technical, in-depth conversation with Maya, not just surface level, but you were able to talk to her about the car handling and how the car was today and the racing and knowledge that necessarily not your average Joe would have. So I have to ask, I know your first love was sort of racing and karting over broadcasting, but how? Where did the love start? Like, explain this to me. Was it love at first lap? Was it?
Yeah, it's so odd because I used to say like, oh, I got it from my dad. And he's like, no, you did not. He's like, I just watched Formula One. That was it.
I'm not claiming that.
Yeah, he was like, I have no interest in cars. I've never been in a race car in my life. I don't know. It's really difficult because I always felt like I was a tomboy growing up. And now I'm so glad that we're breaking this stigma of if you like motorsport, you're a tomboy. No, you're not. You know, you can be. Nothing wrong with that. But you can also be super, super girly and like the sport. So yeah, I really don't know why. It was that one experience at the go-kart track, like 6, 7 years old. And I just fell in love with it. And then every single birthday was go-karting. Every single birthday. And because indoor karting is the most accessible from a financial point of view, I was always indoor karting and I was beating all the dads and all the boys.
Not the dads.
The dads, obviously, because we were young, so the dads would come with us. Not the mums, that's the thing. It just wasn't seen as a women's thing to do. Yeah. And obviously it's changing, which is fantastic. And like I say, that's why I advocate for. But yeah, it was just, I don't know whether it's just a part of me because I loved canoeing and horse riding.
You're
I was
an
very
active
active.
gal.
Yeah. Maybe not so much anymore, a bit lazy these days, you know.
It takes it out of us.
Exactly. Maybe I was just young and I just had all this energy.
Energetic.
But then, yeah, I never lost it. I never, ever, ever lost it. And then now combining my work with it. And I get given these beautiful cars to hop in. And so I race with a team called TRX Motorsport. I met Amanda, the team owner, at I think it was the teaser of the Jamie Chadwick series that I commentate on. And I was interviewing Jamie and we all went out on the track with Jamie. And she was like, oh, like, do you do a lot of driving? I was like, not really. I did when I was younger, but not so much anymore. She's like, come be a part of my team. We've got these cars, we've got karts and pro karts and all of this. Come be a part of it. Absolutely adore her. I was in the pro karts at Clay Pigeon Raceway a few weeks ago. I've been in them 3 or 4 times now. They're scary beasts.
Oh, really?
They're scary. So you've got 2 200cc engines.
Okay.
Terrifying. God. Absolutely terrifying. The speeds that they go are just something else. And that track is made for 160cc engines. So an even more powerful kart. So yeah, I had my first little shunt recently, which was good. They were like, you're not pushing if you haven't had a little accident.
Fair enough. How was it?
Yeah. Do you know what, right? I should admit this, Nina.
Go on, tell me.
My brain likes to do the opposite of what you're meant to do sometimes. Like we all make mistakes. As I realised I was about to crash, I started leaning forward. That's the worst thing you can do.
Why?
You know, your neck, you can snap your neck.
Gosh.
You can do all sorts. I start to lean forward. Everything I've ever known. I'm like, I'm a very, I'd like to say, knowledgeable, intellectual gal. Why have I just done that? And it was fine. Like, I had a few bruises and things and whatever. But yeah, I threw myself forward because I was scared of the impact. But we're over it now. I've had my first big shunt. Yeah. So we're okay.
We're fine now. The ice
exactly.
is broken.
But I like it. It's definitely... It's not coming as natural to me as it did before. But then again, I did indoor karting my whole life.
It's very different outside.
Indoor and outdoor. Forget what you know.
Indoor, what is
bit of
indoor?
fun.
You know, yeah, exactly. It's a bit of fun.
That's the thing. Indoor's so much more accessible. In indoor, they call it the team sport flicks. So around certain corners, you really flick the wheel.
Right.
If you do that in outdoor, see you later. You're off. Genuinely, like, outdoor is very careful, very small, tiny
Subtle movements. Right.
That was something I had to unlearn because I
Right.
was doing the team sport flicks around outdoor tracks. Again, I'm more suited to electric karts because you're not, as soon as you lose that power, you're back on the power and it's there straight away. In petrol karts, as soon as you go back on, you've lost the power, you go back on the power, the kart has to build up the revs.
There's a lot of time that
So
gets
if you're,
wasted,
your racecraft and the way that you work with the pedals isn't fantastic, you're not going to excel. You're going to lose so much speed and so much time. Everyone's gone past you. So I had to just unlearn everything I knew. But yeah, I absolutely love it.
I love the passion that you're talking. I can feel
Get
it
me in that cart now.
radiating. What are you hoping to get out of this in terms of, do we have a future racing driver?
Oh, I wish. I was saying that to Maya, wasn't I? I was like, get out, Maya. Let me take your car. I'll have it. I think for me, it's difficult. So I've just bought a Mazda MX-5 Mark II for 2 reasons. One, to race it and obviously to have my own race car, but also to work on the mechanical side of things. So I don't know what the goal is, obviously, because it's away from my job. So I wouldn't say I'm gonna take it fully professional and be a racing driver. F1 Academy, I'll be too old for that. So I can't even, by the time I've got it, I can't even be in F1 Academy. So I guess it's just something on the side, really. Motorsport is my whole life.
Yeah.
If it's not work, it's going to the go-kart tracks, it's working on the car, it's taking the car out, it's track days, it's interviewing, it's everything is motorsport. The podcast that I've got, I'm always reading motorsport books. I swear I'm just motorsport.
I love that.
My whole personality trait is motorsport.
I was saying, like, what my hobby used to be motorsport, and now it's infiltrated my work. So now I'm like, who am I away from this? What's my hobby? I love sleeping. I love eating. But those are quite like generic, boring answers. Whereas before I used to be like, oh, I love Formula One. And they're like, oh, really? Tell us what. I'm like, yeah, I'm obsessed with it. But now I'm like, well, that's work now. So Anyway.
And you feel like it's just too much
of
like,
that.
Oh. You're like, what else do I do?
Who
what do
am
I get up to?
Yeah.
I like animals.
Okay, so not just in relation to, your pro karting, all that kind of stuff. In general, have you personally encountered any biases or barriers even in your career related to background, gender? And if so, how did you navigate those challenges?
Do you know what? From, I would say, both gender and with my ethnicity, I don't think I've faced a great deal, which I'm very, very grateful for. But I also noticed this with a lot of the girls that I do the media training with, the racing drivers. A lot of them actually haven't had a lot of challenges. But then when you speak to older women racing drivers, they will have a lot to say to you. So it is changing. But I think within myself, the only things I probably have faced is having a male co-presenter that might have been in the sport maybe 5-10 years longer than you, so they've got more racing experience and more broadcasting experience, and I've noticed it a lot that they think they know a lot more than you, and they don't ever give you that sort of breeding ground to grow. They're constantly shutting you down and constantly saying no, and you don't know enough about this because you don't remember in 1961 that. Sorry, you're really gonna try and like quiz me? Yeah. So I've definitely had that quite a bit. The only other thing I would say is it's more about looks. And obviously with women, they mainly focus on the look of the women. And there was a job, and I was speaking to direct, and I was really excited, and I was still fresh in the industry. And they were like, oh, the drivers are going to love you. And I was like, so what do you mean by that? And they were like, oh, because you're absolutely gorgeous. And yes, okay, take it as a compliment. And there might be some people going, why is she complaining about that? It's a nice thing. But then, are you only hiring me because you think I'm attractive? And then all these comments came, and it did make me a little bit sad to be like, why isn't anyone talking about my knowledge? Why isn't anyone talking about, wow, it's fantastic you're, leading the way for females, and it's fantastic that you're doing this and doing that. That would be the only few things. And I just think there are a lot of men in high leadership roles that can take advantage. And I've definitely had a little bit of that, but thank God I'm quite headstrong, and I've also got a partner that's been at the industry for 13 years.
Wow.
So if anything happened, I'd be like, wow, this thing happened and I don't know how to navigate it. I've been in this for 3 years now. I'm a little baby in comparison to these.
Yeah.
And he was like, you need to do this and be tough and do this and whatever. And he really helped me so much navigate those difficult conversations and not be taken advantage of. But yeah, luckily, I probably haven't had too much. I don't look at the comments.
No, I don't.
So
That's
don't
what you
do
shouldn't
it.
Don't look at the comments.
Don't. I did at the beginning, and there were a few like sexist comments, but there was one actually which was like quite backhanded, and they said, oh, it's so refreshing to see a woman actually know what she's talking about in the sport, like fantastic presenter Amber Jones. And I was there like,
so you're bigging me up, but you're putting down the rest of the women in the world.
Exactly. And I was like, I can't take that as a nice compliment. I would love to take it, but I'm not having that. A woman in the sport. I just thought, come off it, mate. Gosh. You take my job.
That's another thing about allies as well, because someone might actually take that as a compliment and be like, yeah, great. But I think it's important to have camaraderie, allies. How do you think established media professionals can be allies and sort of play a role in driving this change?
I definitely think, and I guess it's sort of playing into a bit of a marketing strategy, because you have to change the audience's point of view. There's going to be a lot of older men, even maybe some women, maybe I'm generalising, but stereotypically a lot of older men that haven't seen a lot of women in the sport, so they're not very inviting to women in the sport. again, with diversity and ethnicity, it's been a very white, male-dominated sport for a very, very long time. So when they see, you know, different cultures coming into the sport, again, they're getting a shock to the system, and they don't embrace it, and they don't open it, and they start to make the silliest remarks in relation to someone's race, and it's got nothing to do with their race. So I think from a marketing point of view, you need to get high-profile people involved in conversations and see them championing F1 Academy and other sports, and you know what James is doing here with Driven by Us, having people, high-profile people that can then help change it. Because that's the thing, you know, you can get a group, but because it's not being shouted to multiple platforms and a big audience, it's not, the message isn't being spread far enough. So it is more getting people on board, getting those people that can actually make a difference and help, and we're stronger together at the end of the day. But yeah, it's more discourse, more events, and just having more people on board.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And what advice, Amber, would you give to someone aspiring to enter the motorsport media world? What would you say?
Oh, you just, I think, don't doubt yourself too much, because like I say, it's so competitive. It's very competitive, and it's cutthroat, and it can make you doubt yourself. And especially if you are a woman, or, you know, someone of colour coming into it and think, I don't see a lot of me in this industry, you know, I don't have that representation. You can feel lonely. You can, who do I talk to? Where's the support? You can't doubt yourself. I think you do need to have a nice team around you to help you get through those difficult moments. But then in terms of progressing and excelling, is put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. If you want to be a presenter, you know, get your phone, get a camera, head down to a track, speak to people. You do need to network. It's the most important thing. But just have the knowledge of what you actually want to do. So if you come in and you love the technical side of the sport, get all the technical knowledge that you can. You know, the audience wants to see authentic presenting. They don't want to see rehearsed presenting, because they can tell that from a mile off. So super authentic, know your stuff. But then don't feel like you have to know everything. If that's your, you know, where you specialise in, mechanical side of things, run with that. But yeah, I think you need to know your strengths, and then, yeah, just keep putting out content, and you'll be fine.
I think your career trajectory has been very inspiring, and we're only just getting started still. There's so much to do still in this life. What's been your proudest achievement so far?
Oh,
tell me.
Oh gosh.
You're getting deep.
I know. This is a difficult one, actually. Proudest achievement. That's a very difficult one, because there have been so many moments. But I actually think working with Jamie Chadwick on the Jamie Chadwick Race Series.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, that always just like fills my heart so much, because they've now opened it up to juniors, you know, like cadets. And we did a teaser day with these tiny little babies.
Little people.
Like, oh my gosh, they're so cute, honestly. All these girls, and we did a media training session with them. So I was there interviewing Jamie first, and all their team were there recording it. And then I'd bring the girls up on stage, and I was like, so, you know, ask them very basic questions, because they're only little. And I was like, why do you like go-karting? And why do you like motorsport? And they're like, I like to go fast.
Oh,
my heart just melted. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a motorsport mum. I have to be.
You definitely are.
You definitely are. If they don't like motorsport, I'm going to be fuming.
They'll be a football fan.
So I think, no. Go speak to your auntie. That's my sister. That's not me. So yeah, I think that just made me feel really proud, because I just felt like I'm here actually making a difference.
Making an impact.
With fantastic racing driver Jamie Chadwick, you know, she's doing so much. The fact I can be a part of that and be in her journey, but also on this movement to help get more girls in the sport. Yeah, every time I work on that series, it's always just like, wow, we're changing. We're actually doing something here. We're making a difference.
You're doing something you love, and it's fulfilling. Yeah,
And then I'm jealous that I'm not in the karts as well.
Oh, Amber. We'll get you in there. We will.
Please.
Racing competitively, we will. Okay, so finally, I have a question for you from a previous guest.
Oh.
Who do you think is going to be the next Lewis Hamilton in terms of a GOAT, in terms of his talent, his racing, his presence in the paddock, coming up for F1, F2? Who do you think is going to be the next Lewis?
Okay, maybe my answer's controversial.
Go for it.
There will never be another Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, I love that.
There will never, ever... There can be, you know, a fantastic world champion. There can be a great driver. You know, we've already got that. We're seeing that in Max Verstappen. You know, he's a fantastic driver. There will never, ever be another Lewis Hamilton. There is only one Lewis Hamilton. What he stands for, how he is, his driving skill. I just don't think we'll see another driver like that. The only driver I think that came close to maybe like the ethos of Lewis Hamilton is Sebastian Vettel.
Mm-hmm.
But again, very different to Lewis Hamilton. I just think because Lewis Hamilton is bigger than the sport, and you're not really seeing that with a lot of other drivers. They are F1 drivers.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton's like a singer, entrepreneur. He's got all his businesses. He helps the world and helps these, you know, global issues. You don't see that in a lot of the other drivers. So yeah, maybe it's a controversial answer.
I like the answer.
There isn't. I don't want to just say someone for the sake of saying it. You know.
No, I appreciate that.
So yeah.
And what's your question for? It could be anything, as you know, any topic.
I was thinking about this.
Yes.
And I think because you know me and I love to chat.
You do.
And I love to talk and I love to get loads of advice. I send you lots of voice notes all the time to be like, Nina, help. My question is around advice.
Okay.
Because I've had so much amazing advice recently from friends, from family, from motorsport professionals. So I would say, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received from someone, and did you put that into practice?
Oh, I love that. Gorgeous.
We love to chat. We love to know.
Okay, quick fire round to end it on.
Oh.
Favourite racing circuit?
Oh, no.
3.
No.
2.
No.
1.
Silverstone.
Okay.
I don't know if it is Silverstone.
Most underrated driver right now can be any series. Underrated driver.
Oh
3,
my gosh.
2,
Oh my gosh, no.
1.
Antonelli?
Okay.
I don't know if he's got the
I don't know if
recognition
he's
he
underrated.
deserved. I don't think... Oh, no, it's rapid fire.
Okay,
I can't explain.
fine. No, you can't. Your
Can't
go-to
explain.
trackside snack when you're at work? 3.
Oh, it's just a
2.
bag of crisps, you
Bag of
know?
crisps, okay.
Not healthy at all.
1 word answer. Right. If you could design your own car livery, what colours would they be? 3.
White, black and
2,
red.
1. And finally, your dream motorsport series to cover.
Oh, F1. We're going to have to go with F1.
Amber, you have been an angel. Thank
Oh.
you so much for joining us on the podcast today and sharing all of your knowledge and your journey, your trajectory. We are going to be cheering you on. There were so many great takeaways from this conversation, and I wished you nothing but the best. You're very talented and a dear friend.
Thank you so much, Nina.
So thank you for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in today to the Driven by Us podcast. If you enjoyed, don't forget to follow, share it, like us, and we'll be back soon with more amazing stories coming up for some very special guests. Until then, stay curious, stay passionate, and stay driven.